the public should know who these esteemed individuals are. And so our first is Honorable Carolyn Maloney, was Congresswoman for not enough years and served the district very well. I live in the district, so it's very special. And she was elected to Congress in 1992. She was the first woman to represent the district and city council district. She was the first woman to chair the Government Reform and Oversight Committee. She authored over 80 laws, including 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, authorizing legislation to create the Smithsonian National Women's Museum, landmark consumer protections against predatory banking, credit card practices, and the Corporate Transparency Act. Federal Historical Society commissioned a portrait, I didn't know that, of Congresswoman Maloney, and held unveilings to the Congress Office Building in 2004 December, and New York Athletic Club to celebrate her 30 years of service in the House of Representatives. Having left Congress in January 23, she currently serves as Eleanor Roosevelt Leader in Residence at the Roosevelt Institute of Public Policy, Hunter College, founder and president of ERA, nonprofit advocate for recognizing the ratification of Equal Rights Amendment as the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, managing director on the board of the Metropolitan Opera. I highly recommend visit the opera. It's one of the great operas of the world.
Right.
Board member of the Federal Home Loan Bank in New York, board member of the Chamber of Commerce for Manhattan, board member of the Conservancy of Gracie Mansion, who now has a new executive head, board members of National Organization for Women, board member of the National Organization, president of the New York State chapter of the National Organization Against Women, board member of the United Nations Development Corporation. Thank you. Ms. Maloney served as chair of the ERA Coalition. This is just a small part of success, not just the committees that have service to our country and our city, but the personal friend, really thousands of constituents within her neighborhood, and really serves as a partner. So I appreciate Carol Maloney, who was appointed by the governor. I thank you very much. Before I get on to the next appointment, Bob Abrams, are you there?
I'm here. We just left our safe room because sirens sounded in Jerusalem. The IDF has reported that it was a ballistic missile fired by the Houthis, but it was destroyed.
Thank God. Thank God you and your wife are safe, and you're in Jerusalem. Enjoy the holidays and a happy and healthy New Year. I'm sorry you couldn't be here personally, but I'm jealous of you that you're in Jerusalem. So,
thank you, George. Thanks.
And Bob Abrams was reappointed by the governor to serve on the board. So not a new member, but Bob Abrams, our esteemed Attorney General, great author, and a father of wonderful children, is now back on the board, continuing as long as he likes.
Thank you. Welcome to Carolyn, also. Great career in public service and public life.
Thank you, Bob.
The next appointee is appointee of our mayor. And I was wondering why the deputy mayors asked me to stay on for a while. I don't know what that means. I think it was to get Joe Borelli on this board, one of the reasons. And let me give you a little background. Joseph Career. He's managing director at Chartwell Strategy Group. Chartwell is a strategic advisory firm specializing in government relations, political risk management, and strategic communications. They don't compete with you. He previously served at the New York City Council and the state legislature, capping his public career as a council minority leader. During his 10-year tenure at the City Council, he chaired the Committee on Fire, Emergency Management, overseeing billions of dollars in spending and 18,000 employees of the New York City Fire Department and the Office of Energy Management. He served on the Critical Land Use Committee, the Zoning Subcommittee, which in our business is very important for the real estate industry in New York, and on the Council Budget Negotiation Team and the Committees on Education, Parks, and Rules. Prior to joining the Council, Mr. Borelli was elected to the New York State Assembly in 2012, serving until 2015. He was a ranking member on the Committee on Cities and a member of the committees on Energy, Banks, Housing, Health, and Transportation. Mr. Borelli also served on the MTA's Capital Review Board, 13 to 15, and the New York City Voter Assistance Commission. Joe was chairman and a member of the National Forum of Republican Mayors, council member and county leaders, part of the Community Leaders of America. He's also an adjunct lecturer of political science at CUNY and a 2019 Lindsay Fellow Institute of State and Local Government. Your resume is unbelievable. It's superb. And the credentials and background that you have is a great addition to this board. So we welcome you for agreeing to the mayor's recommendation, which was approved by the Undersecretary of the United Nations and by the ambassador to United Nations, was represented by Jake Sherman. So you've been checked off by the UN, by the United States, by the mayor. And you welcome you to this board. I hope you enjoy one or two of our committees. Give us some of your wise counsel and experience. All right, we'll get into the board meeting. First item on the agenda, minutes of the meeting of March 27th.
A motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
any negatives? If we're all unanimous on the approval. Thank you, minutes approved. Second item on the agenda is Governance and Compensation Committee report. You know, we have various committees, which includes this committee, and which we will talk about, which is Rob, Paul, I'll tell you, I want to say it publicly, but I said it before. We've had 2-3 very tough years in relation to this. This would not have happened without this work. The amount of energy that you put into it, and intelligence. He's a damn good lawyer, and we are very fortunate to have on board the position that he holds. So this gives me a chance to sit back a little bit. So I can stay on. So Rob, go ahead. So,
Yeah, thank you, George. I second that. It's been quite a ride last couple of years. So just moving on, the Governance and Compensation Committee met about a week ago. The committee typically meets yearly or more often as needed. The purpose of the meeting is an annual review of the corporation's mission statement and the compensation benefits program. The main order of business, I think, this time around was its mission statement. We thought, just in light of all that's been going on, maybe we'll try to simplify it, modernize it. It hasn't been changed in 10 plus years. The mission certainly has not changed. I don't think the goals have changed. Maybe the wording was a little lengthy. I looked at Christine in the world of communications. She can say that. So we decided to kind of, modernize it a bit, put in some headings and short. So we provided in the book kind of our proposed new mission statement, the old one from I think 2011, and then a markup showing the changes. I don't think the markup's terribly helpful because so much got moved around and such, but I think that, the content is still there. So, it was reviewed by the governance committee meeting and believe that we should adopt.
So, and I just add as a committee member, the content really hasn't changed. It is really about streamlining the language and simplifying it so that it's not as wordy. So something that might have been in the one paragraph got moved to another to make it make sense or flow a little better.
does flow better, and it gives us all the rights that we had, and as we worked on the mission statement. You have to read it, we'll read it carefully. Things that we can do. And if we're called upon by the city or the state or the United Nations under our mission statement, to legislative approval that we were created, you want us to do something, we're around. And because the board is here for that. But we did help once in a while with someone either from Roosevelt Island, the Governor's Island. So, but we're around that we can do other things, mainly within the district, of course, because the UN is this district here between 44th and 45th Street, First and Second Avenue. But we have the rights to go beyond that. I think it's succinct, it's clear. I think it's a good addition to the cleanup on it. So if we can get some motion to approve it, it's an item for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Second.
questions or comments? All right, any nays? Unanimous, thank you. Audit committee report. Rob, you want to take it from here? I thank you, Patch. You'll have a report.
Yeah, I think in this one, we should probably, if we did an RFP for auditors, we were here, so maybe you can just step out for a few minutes and we'll Hope Goldstein and see this here. We'll cover that. Yeah,
Hope don't go too far.
yeah. Okay. So again, we had an audit committee meeting September 10th. We did issue an RFP for outside auditors. Typically, the auditors are, it's a 4-year term in 1-year engagements. This time around, we had extended CBIZ's engagement because we had the bond offering and the leases, and we thought the experience was not a good time to kind of switch auditors. So in June, we issued an RFP. It's a public process through the New York State Contract Reporter system, which means anyone is free to bid, qualify bidders. We got 4 bids, including CBIZ. We interviewed 2 of them, and our recommendation is to continue with CBIZ. They've provided really excellent service. They've got a strong Manhattan office, walking distance. They know us. Turned out the second firm actually had to withdraw because they had a conflict. They had really a non-compete. The partner had left and went to a different firm, and so that kind of disqualified them. So that's our recommendation. Their fees are in line with the others. We did negotiate a 5% reduction, so they're just a little bit higher than the other figures.
And they also represent Battery Park Authority,
Yeah.
Trust of Governor's Island. That's not count these other statements. But they've been here, they know this corporation. They've issued the reports every year, certified accounting reports and line item. Actually,
This is the same group from Mark's Paneth, right? Mark's Paneth at that time?
Yeah, they had merged Mark's Planet to another.
So we've had continuity. We've had, this is
We've had this,
longer than this one bid.
We've had the same team. They're on a bigger platform, so they have more resources now. So they also have a 15% MWBE component firm they've worked with and partnered with for years. They come in and build work.
Successful in Hudson Yards. They're on the Hudson Yards side.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. They work for Battery Park City for a long time. It's a strong real estate presence, strong public authorities.
Use them for our business also.
Yeah, okay.
A strong real estate.
Yeah.
a lot of these accounting firms, accounting firm, auditors and law firms, they're merging. Yes. Personally, we had a trust and estate lawyer who was on some of our trusts. And a phone call, we just merged. I can't do it.
You're old enough to remember the Big 8. Remember the Big 8?
Yeah.
Disappeared? Well, maybe it's
Okay.
coming back.
So there's enormous amount of mergers going on, which is a lot of space being given up in New York. But the other side of the coin, they all want new buildings.
Like a puppy.
So anyone in the real estate business, hang on, it's going. You walk up and down Park Avenue, the public should, and Madison Avenue and downtown Brooklyn and Queens, it's booming. I mean, it's the commercial side is booming and there are not enough apartments.
Working on that.
I ain't saying it, we say it. We are key to New York, young people want to be here. It's exciting, making a speech, which I shouldn't. But it's exciting, okay? And New York needs housing. Commercial we can deal with. The zoning, Mr. Borelli?
I'm retired.
Yeah, but you know what it is.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay? Land use, critical. All right,
They say that, oh,
You know, CBiz is actually, top 20 revenues in the country. It's a stamp for.
And no adjustment with the reporting framework subsequent to the deal we struck. Nothing has to be adjusted or changed, or did we think about it, or did we come to them and say we have to adjust the audit report based on what was just struck?
No. They were very involved
Yeah,
throughout the whole transaction process. They reviewed the official statement. So there's nothing that's to.
yeah, I assume it would speak to an advantage if we did have to change and they had the history and they would continue with the actions in their favor, but just wasn't sure if the nature of what they were doing had changed at all.
Not so much. I mean, the numbers are bigger,
Yeah,
but not really.
dialogue has been going on between the Commissioner of HPD. We have to give a chance to representative or chairman of the City Planning Commission. Is anything, we love the chair. And your assistant did great. Things that he passed and we put on the agenda, been fabulous. Very, very useful. And he was the councilman of this district. And when we did the legislation, negotiations on the park and building for the UN, and when we wanted to build a building on the park, which was alienated, the 27-story building, he was very instrumental. So he was very knowledgeable. What we're doing is good. Is there anything you want to add?
Keep building more.
Okay, got it.
There we go.
So, I think a motion to approve the orders.
We get a motion for approving the orders and official statement?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any nays?
Get her back in.
Unanimous. Thank you.
We'll invite Hope back in.
Hope.
You didn't change your mind.
No, we didn't. We kept it and approved. Those approve you all and confirm. Now it's still for us.
Okay, so moving on to the Form 990, UNDC is a little unusual. It's both a public authority and a 501c3, which means you've got to file a Form 990 the IRS here. Most of the information is taken from the audited financial statements. The 990 is prepared by CBiz team. They do probably thousands of them a year. Hundreds?
Yes, plus another zero probably.
Well, I picked up a couple of problems. We made mistakes on the 990. They're minor. I went over them before. Oh,
Good.
yeah, did make the correction.
The only change is a description of
Of the
independent
job.
contractors in
Right.
construction and architects. We've already adjusted it. The 990 is in your book. Attachment 3B. Hope you have any comments on it or anything.
There was nothing unusual on this
Yeah.
990. I often say if the IRS were doing any desk reviews, this would not come out as something unusual. As Robert said, this reconciles to the financial statements. There is a schedule that shows that reconciliation, provides a great level of detail, but I will tell you, your audit committee went in detail and asked very good questions. We met with them last week. Let's see if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But it's really referred to within the nonprofit realm as an informational return, around a tax. Unless, of course, you earned income outside of your mission, which you do not.
And as I note, there are no notes on your auditing statement, correct?
It was a clean opinion.
Clean
I
opinion,
didn't sign that opinion, I didn't sign it.
no notes and no comments. Which is,
To just make those corrections I picked up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're already.
Actually, I gave it to Rob.
Just today.
No, I sent him an email a couple days ago.
Then, okay, okay.
Okay.
I raised
I really-
with Rob and to speak to council as well. I raised it, so why are we a 501c3? I mean, that's a charitable organization. All the other public benefit corporations are not 501(c)(3)s. So we discussed it, I think we got an opinion from you and also, but the bottom line is, hey, we did, remember we had a book, I think we had some of the directors were kind enough to donate some money towards it with the Rockefellers, the Ford Foundation. So that was, it was a 501c3. And not only that, we may be called upon one day to maybe have donations given for projects that we may be asked to undertake. So as a public benefit corporation, that is also 501c3, you have a different leg up. Since you accept contributions if foundations want to give us money, anything that we may want to do or ask to call upon to do. So just general information.
Yeah, the only real requirement is doing this 990 every year. It's a nominal cost. So. So thinking, we do need approval.
So can we get a motion on that?
I'll move.
Second.
All right, so approved. Next item is Finance Committee report. Bob, you know, take it. I want to mention our Honorable Ed Burlstein, who served as, still does, or not, as Commissioner of International Affairs for the City of New York. Did you join us? And want to thank publicly Jessica Healy, who was a member of this board. And when Joe was appointed, Jessica received a wonderful phone call from Rob and from me and from the deputy mayor, thanking her for the writing for all the years that she put on the board. So, but the mayor has only 7 appointees. Governor has 8 appointees. The governor has more flexibility. And ex officios, the chairman of HPD and the chairman.
Sorry, yeah.
Finance.
Okay, so yeah, so we had a meeting of the Finance Committee September 15th. We provided in the book, tab 4 is executive summary from PFM Asset Management. It's our investment manager. Is currently managing the funds under indenture. I'll let Ali, you can speak to it, but you'll see in here, there's various portfolios. They're held under the indenture, market value of the securities, the yield, duration. There are 9 funds held under the indenture, and they're very specifically earmarked to aspects of the project. So for example, you have a UN Plaza hard cost. So that's construction money that's only available for the 1 UN Plaza project. You have a parallel one for 2 UN Plaza. There's a soft cost fund. There are contingency funds. Yeah, et cetera, renewable. So, you know, I think one difference is you're coordinating very closely with the PFM team because you want to match up the duration of these funds to the schedule of construction. You don't want it to be too liquid, but you don't want it to be tied up. It is 100% in treasuries. Just because it's still the safest bet around. We need the money, we know we're going to use it. So we do, I think, from time to time, PFM looks at commercial paper and other investments. It's a possibility, but I know Ali can speak to that. Haven't found too much value in it as of yet. So Ali, if you want to say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, thank you for having us here today. For those of you who are not met, I'm Ali Denso. I'm with PFM Asset Management. We were very pleased and proud to continue doing the investments for UNDC and for this project. As Rob said, we now have 9 new portfolios, all specifically earmarked with our investment policy set to the specific use cases of all of those funds, for the ones specifically involved in the construction, as well as the ones on behalf of the trustee, for the liquidity reserve and things like that. The funds are purely invested in US treasuries. Like Rob said, we do continue to monitor, for the full suite of investments that are allowed for the investment policy, which includes commercial paper. However, we don't quite see a strong enough value in the added risk we're taking on going outside of treasuries for these portfolios. It's something we continue to monitor, but at this time, it's not something we have decided to select. As Rob also mentioned, we meet on a monthly basis now to coordinate the draw schedules for the portfolios, the construction project, make sure everything is in line with the investment.
At UPS, they look at it.
Interest rates coming down.
Mhm.
Do you think there may be a change in the shift values?
With the interest rates falling, the market value of the security will then rise and the treasures you all currently hold are going to be more valuable. I will say the market was expecting this 25 basis point cut that we saw yesterday. There was only one dissenting vote at this time, which was also quite expected. That was likely near pushing for a larger cut of 50 basis points. At the moment, we see 2 additional cuts happening this year, which is quite dovish. From Chairman Powell's comments, we continue to monitor, but right now we see a slight downturn in rates through the end of this year. I will also note there's dispersion of the dots, dot plots, which tracks what each individual member thinks of the future. So as always, I was hoping to get out of a meeting without saying uncertain and volatile, but I don't think I can quite do it. Unfortunately, even in the countries, these remain very uncertain and volatile. So our team here at the GFF is monitoring very closely.
Do you have any opinion of what may happen at the end of September? When the debt of the United States comes due?
Our team is under the belief that given all of the strong divisions we are seeing in this country, as well as where the economy and equity markets currently stand, that our Congress will come to a vote to pass the budget. We are not foreseeing any government shutdown at this time. However, I caution we have a solid stage where things can very drastically change. So we continue to monitor the situation very closely.
You know, the Congresswoman.
My friends in Congress are telling me there's gonna be government shutdown.
Yeah,
I've lived through several government shutdowns and I don't see what they accomplish. Everybody screams at each other for a week and costs hundreds of millions of dollars. And then they do what we call a continuing resolution, which just continues the government at the rate that it is and agreed to prior. But who knows? That's a government. Yeah, I would wake up and you'd have a list of what's going to be on the floor, and then all of a sudden they'd say, we're changing everything. It's going to be something else. So anyway, I'm hearing from I'm a Democrat, that I'm hearing from the Democrats there'll be a shutdown.
Yeah.
But it could change. It changes all the time. But I don't see what they accomplish.
I
to tell
checked
you the truth.
3 banks,
I don't think we should have one, quite frankly. That's
I was
waste
interested.
money. Pardon me?
3 largest banks, I call whatever, their departments. So what do you think?
Pardon me?
What do you think? Will there be a shutdown? I had unanimous. All 3 of them said no.
Republicans are working on a clean CR,
Yeah,
Working on what?
a clean continuing resolution.
clean continuation.
This, month.
And-
If you have a shutdown, you end up with a clean
Yeah.
CR. So why have it?
Have it.
Personally, I think a shutdown is a waste of money
I-
and we shouldn't be closing the government.
They're
The
gonna,
government's there to serve people. But
Our president does.
there's a lot of anger and a
Yeah.
lot of lack of communication, I would say, is the worst I have ever seen it.
Lack of listing, I'd say.
Huh?
Lack of listing. No one wants to use their.
I checked with Blackstone what they thought.
Personally, I hope there's not a shutdown.
No, I don't think the president wants it either, but who knows?
they're gonna fight in an omnibus bill at the end of the year. That's what, like,
Continuing resolutions till November, December.
Okay, we need,
We're moving.
okay, seconded,
Second.
negative, nays, positive, Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the management report. Section five B.
Yeah, that's in tab 5 of your book. There was a memo kind of describing our results of operations for the first 6 months of this year. On the good side, we're up about $2.8 million in net revenues over 2024. That's attributable to the new UN leases and the UNDP leases that kicked in April 30th. We had a reduction in office space operating expenses and sort of building operating expenses. And we had a substantial increase in interest income and a decrease in what we call administrative office expenses. Mainly it's kind of transaction legal real estate fees because we were done with the leases. Net revenues for the first 6 months of this year were approximately $5 million. So I'll move on to the budgets. Under the state, we adopted 2026 budget and then kind of projected budgets for the next 3 years, which would be 2027, 2028, 2029. So the key document, the budget that we would submit to New York State, is found in attachment 5B in the book. And you can see the numbers here. The 2026 revenues, we're projecting at about $9 million in net revenues. It does drop from there. Part of it, we do lose revenues from UNICEF. As you know, UNICEF will own 3 UN Plaza in July of 2026. So that building, that was a deal the city struck probably 30 years ago, right? Effectively a retention deal.
Yeah, you will remember UNICEF negotiated with us, we negotiated with them. They wanted to leave the city. And we negotiated an arrangement with them. We built a building for them across the street from these 2 buildings. And they were very smart. They did a 30-year deal with the right of ownership for $1 at the end of 30 years. And something that we offered to the United Nations. And I regret it, I keep repeating it. The new building on the park, they would have had a 30-year lease with a tunnel into the United Nations, consolidated all of their buildings, and at the end of 30 years, they would have owned the building. So in 2026, right? UNICEF lease expires, and they will be the owner of the building. But we still own 1 and 2 UN Plaza, so the new campus, at the added campus, the central campus is now here, these 2 buildings, plus UNICEF, and UNICEF is staying here.
You may want to give it back.
Could be.
I know they're moving
They're
people
moving. I mean, you raise a good point, and I think it's worthwhile
to Nairobi, I think.
yeah, to talk about it.
The
in the
whole
budget.
UN is.
The UN has serious economic problems. Besides bureaucracy. And it's cutting down. And cutting back. Whether it's forced because it comes out of Washington reasons or on their own. And they're cutting maybe instead of 4 days to 2 days and cutting back space.
We have the original document that granted the $1 option.
Me to the UNICEF, yeah.
Circulate a copy of that, just circulate a copy of that. If they don't want it, maybe we'll see if there's something in there that circulate.
Yeah,
it.
they want to
Consolidate it into these buildings once they're done, might make more sense.
Thinking of charging them 2 or what?
No, I'm thinking of something in the document. I haven't read the document yet. I hope we were more clever than that there had to be some stay time in there. Circulate it, we'll see it.
Why are they moving to Nairobi?
piece of it. Cheaper.
Yeah, I think cheaper.
Every country in the world wants peace of the United Nations. And so heavy space in Paris, Geneva. Geneva spent, the government spent, I think it was close to $200 million cash to keep them in Geneva.
Wow.
And the Palais, and Nairobi wants them, and Uganda wants them, and Soviet Union would like them, and et cetera. So this is a problem. You can find the cheapest
Poach our
space.
tenants.
Huh?
We're gonna poach our tenants, George.
Well,
Defend ourselves.
we may have an opportunity to make, we may have an opportunity to make money at the end of the 15th year on reletting the space.
Right.
Because we will have brand new buildings, okay? Sitting here, that one, DC one belongs to the city of New York. and
One condition, you have to be here to
DC2
sign the
belongs-
lease. You have to be here to sign the lease, so.
Sorry,
Yeah.
You have to be here to sign the lease, so.
yeah, but I may not sign the lease.
We used to be the largest contributor to the United Nations. Has that changed?
Who still are?
United States,
No, the United States does 24%.
24%.
And that is assessments. And that's assessments for the Secretariat. And that includes peacekeeping and whatever falls under the Secretariat. But besides the Secretariat, there's gonna be a renegotiation of that 24% for sure. And not only will there be a renegotiation of the whole 24%, I believe the United States, the UN mission, United States mission, look at every budget item. And they pulled out of UNRWA, they pulled out of WHO, and I don't know what else they may do. But I think they're going to manage the spending, right or wrong, I don't want to get into the policy. But I believe there will be a serious deduction of funds. And I think the US will have problems with it. Now, there is UNDP, which is sort of the number two, is all voluntary. And they work in 120 countries. All volunteer money from foundations, from governments. Their budget is the second largest budget in the United Nations. And they're our tenant for DC1. But that's not assessments. So the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, corporate foundations, hedge fund foundations give money from the UNDP. So I believe that 24% current rule is going to change.
So just back to the budget, a few other themes here. You see net revenues sort of decline over the next few years. There's a few reasons for that. One is we have less in investment income. As we spend money on a project, obviously we don't have the money anymore, so we're not earning interest. And the other aspect is for these 3 years, UNDP is going to be occupying what we call swing space. So while they build out their space, they're occupying 6 floors in the building, really rent-free. We signed a license agreement with them. They have options to continue that and pay rent, but effectively we're not collecting full rent on that space till 2029 or later. After that, the budget's kind of assume we can release the space. Hopefully that's true, given where the UN stands. So you end up in 2029 with kind of a very slim net revenue number, which, Chuck, you might want to comment on that.
Yeah, it really is a question, the timing of when the swing space gets released. And so it's necessary in the financial projections to show the swing space has zero income for the first 2 years, then they pay $30, a nominal amount. But once they move out, it has to be demolished and abated. And so there's a 12-month period.
Over $30 a foot for the holdover period.
Excuse me?
The holdover period, if they stay longer, is $30 a foot.
No, it's
For 1 year.
it's a structured arrangement, zero the first year, zero the second year.
They're probably never leaving all the space, you know that, right?
The what, they're not going
They
to?
never leave all the space.
But that gives us about 160,000 to hopefully
Yeah.
get above the 51 to average up a little bit.
Anything over a $51 rent on all of
Yeah.
that is all to the plus. That seems to be
160.
would likely.
And 800 here. And 800.
Basically, we have a year where there's no income, where we're doing demolition and abatement, and there's absolutely no income from the space, and then the subsequent year, it is assumed to get leased up. It's all demolition and abatement costs have been budgeted. The tenant improvements and the free rent costs, 2, 3, 5 years, 4 years hence have all been budgeted and set aside. And so it's really a question of when the UNDP makes up its mind, how it makes up its mind, and then what the market might be 3, 4 years from now. should they not choose to stay.
Just a question on that expenses on the real estate taxes line. We have ground rent and real estate taxes, 3.6 million.
Yeah.
That,
There's a ground rent coming, that's nominal.
it's not, but I'm just saying, we're carrying a 3.6 million.
Private land and.
No, that's the bishops, but.
Yeah, there's a, I think that's about 1.2 million a year. There's a,
How do we get it to, how do we get to 3.6?
well, we also pay the city, we call real estate taxes. It's really city rent under the city leases. It's mostly, it's actually really reimbursed by the hotel. So
Okay, so.
it's a,
Where it's coming.
so you pay on non-UN space, in the buildings, you pay the city.
Gotcha. So that's coming up from the commercial space, which we'll call the condo.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how we got to that because I know the bishop.
In other presentations, we call out the line item of the subordinated base rent to the city. And here it's monthly.
We haven't spoken to bishops at all.
Had some discussion with the lawyers. With interest rates coming down, we may have an opportunity.
Okay.
Good. The lease expires in 2076.
Yeah, we had a 5-year window, but that's only the 5-year.
You know, that was a.
We can do it anytime.
Yeah. We would never buy them out on the option.
No.
It's a crazy number.
I'll always be a
$20
negotiation.
million, approximately.
You know, we did escalate their ground rent. There's a formula, it's basically CPI adjustment, so it went from about 250 to 300,000 in July. But that was a formula. So,
Per annum.
yeah. So it's a low ground rent. Wouldn't support a market buyout for that op.
No, we discussed the structure.
Yeah.
There may be a real estate play. Yeah, fine. But we'll see how it works.
I didn't know if they reached in because they were eager at one point and then it got quiet.
I think it's better now that interest rates went down.
They also held bonds that were fees, they've been paid off.
Oh, they were holding some of the bonds?
Hmm?
They were holding some of the bonds?
Not these bonds, but.
No, the ones that we
annual
defeated.
issuance from 1980.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it was small, like 1,250,000.
Oh, okay.
They got, you know, it was defeased as part of the 2025 bonds and it got paid out. We had the certificates canceled.
So when are all our outstanding bonds, 2027?
Everything is done.
It was 2019 or 2026.
Huh? 2026?
Yeah, so those.
All
will
the
be paid
bonds that
off
we've had
in
out
July.
there, it's all
We
paid
did, we did an extension one time while I was on
Yeah.
FinCom. We extended.
off. Now the only thing we have outstanding are the new bonds,
Right.
which are $365 million.
Refinance, not extension, right? We did the refi that time.
Okay, and
Yeah, 2019.
so in the total, we've had over $1.5 billion
Yeah.
in bonds outstanding, at least.
Yeah. So these bonds are interest only for 5 years. That shows up in the budget as well.
So are there any other
Any other
questions
We
on,
could refi them after 10 years.
any other
Rate
questions?
was a little high, so it was April.
5C?
Day we issued them was probably right after Easter, day after Easter. Up there in the market.
So I think we should approve the state
Yeah.
budget. That's really the only approval.
Right. 5B, 5C, and 5B.
It's just B. That's the only one.
Okay, can we get a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Second.
Negative?
Approved.
And then just 5C are kind of additional detail and information with a 2026 projection and versus 2025 and 2024. Well. And then 5D is a list of projected capital costs for 2026, 2027, and 28 and 79. But I think we'll go through that in more detail. We'll talk about the status of construction with Rob Schubert. Go through that. Yeah.
At 3 o'clock with Janice.
Yeah.
We can get it back on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're done with item 5. Any other item we need on agenda? Who the board?
No.
No. So next item is the construction update, and I want to thank Rob Schubert, is head of our construction, done a fabulous job. And I think, Kirk, was sufficient.
Well, thanks. Just to give you a basic rundown. First off, I'm supported by Cushman Wakefield's project development services. Wayne Mann, Adam Zapatelli, and Kate Nevins, who's on the call. And then as well, Ryan Arcadia, who's the project executive from Turner Construction. We've been working hand in hand for the last 2 years, getting this thing teed up and ready to go. In terms of our lease obligations, as we said, there's about 2/3 of the One UN Plaza and basically all of Two UN Plaza are leased by the tenants, and we have delivery obligations for them. Both tenants have hired Gardel and Theobald as their project managers, which I think is a good thing for us. That we have somebody who is more mindful and understanding of the whole process, helping us go through. The tenants, as we said, we have swing space. In our leases with the UN and UNDP, they do have the ability to change their schedules, and when the UN changed their basically when the UN signed the agreement, they fully anticipated probably changing their schedule, but they just couldn't make up their minds. It's a very big chess piece. And on One UN, right now we are well underway. We've turned over 6 floors. We were just accepted 16 through 19 floors at One UN for the start of Turner's work, which will commence on October 1st. And the UNDP does not really intend to start their construction until mid-May of 26. So that's not as pressing an issue. We have work to do, but it's, we have a little bit of leisure. On terms of Two UN, they really asked if you counted up all the different turnovers to us, there's about 11 or 12. So originally there were 5 turnovers. The first 2 blocks of floors, they give us to us incrementally. So we're working up the building, which doesn't really impede us. And they've also asked that they be able to start some of their construction prior to us completing our F1 work, which is the make ready white box work. We said, well, we'll consider it, but we will get rid of penalties. We will have very specific rules of the road for how we work and how we take precedence. And they have to accept the space, and if their contractor damages stuff, it's their problem. So that's an ongoing discussion with them. But I have to say that the UN has been very open with us, very candid. So we really do have a good sense of what they're up to. In terms of the project is on budget and on schedule. We hope to beat both. I can't say that we will, but we have to. Part of with the UN condensing their project, their completions were estimated to be out in 2030. We'll get that back by a year and a half, maybe more. We don't know yet, but that's to be worked out. In terms of the overall base building construction, we are doing open heart surgery on occupied buildings. So the board, did approve us doing pre-purchase packages, which we've awarded. Things are in fabrication. It's a good thing. Right now, the only in terms of the main equipment, it's going to start to be delivered on starting October 1. We're going to put a derrick up on the roof because we have to pick things into the One UN Plaza. That's the meat of it. That's the most difficult component of this project because we are basically reconstructing the entire 39th floor and the 27th floor while we move on and keep the buildings in operation. So Turner's done I think a very, very good job in terms of 3D modeling all this stuff and actually doing how everything gets moved around so we keep the lungs of the building working. So I have to say that I've worked very closely with Ryan and his team is really top notch. We've got about a dozen people on Turner's staff here. And we've been basically taking everything we can get. The more work we do and the faster we get out, the less cost it's going to be. As George said, part of the negotiations we had with the hotel, which we'll talk about later, was the hotel freight car. the hotel has, they run their own own elevators. They operate their, they maintain them with a different contractor. We've just met with Schindler this morning. We agreed to take over that car for the next 3 years. And so it puts us into our control, which is if we didn't have that, we would be in serious trouble. So we've accomplished that. And I think that's a very, that's a very big thing for us in terms of on the contracting side to be able to move forward. We're also, in terms of the elevators, we're going to beat the death out of these elevators. So we're ordering spare parts, basically. So we have multiple trades, elevator mechanics on site, because vertical transportation is all about this. There are going to be 3 contractors in the building working simultaneously. So we've isolated passenger cars, the passenger elevator service. The next time you come here, the elevator service can be terrible. And the UN has said, fine, let's get it done. So with the 3 contractors, Turner has a PLA, project labor agreement with the trades, and that allows the tenants, which is part of the requirement of the lease, that they can do open shop or non-union work. We don't think they will, but they have the ability to do that. So we've segregated the trades. There'll be Turner's office will entry, their trades will be on 44th Street where the old CNW office was. The UN will come in from UNDP will come in from First Avenue, and the UN will come in from 45th Street. So we have the 3 different contractors coming in different lives, and we're also segregating our elevators to the contractors' elevators. So it's really we've gone through this, massaged it, we've discussed this with the elevator contractor, so we can program things and move things around as fast as we possibly can. In terms of the contractor logistics, beyond that, 44th Street is going to become a very, very busy place soon. Where they're digging a hole up the street on 44th Street, there's going to be a street crane. We're working with the Turner's working with DOT, so we can get access to this street for our deliveries, because we're going to be picking chillers, cooling towers, heat exchangers off of 44th Street on the eastern end to get it up on the roof. So it's an interesting dance. But I think we've got a very good feel for this, and I think we're moving forward.
What about the Turner budget?
So the Turner budget, we are on budget. In terms of the overall cost of the project, we have, Caitlin, can you pull up the document? I'll wait for this, but basically we have about $240 million in commitments. That's not spent, it's commitments for the construction and soft cost. In terms of, skip through the next budget. I'll come back to the components in a minute. Back to the overall budget. Right again. Go down, next page. Next page. Next page. Where'd the simple sheet go? We remove that? Okay. So I will talk to it. In terms of the overall project budget, we've got $240 million, of which Turner's GMP is approximately $186 million. And then the rest of it's, allocated for soft costs and other project-related expenses. In terms of the Turner GMP, because we had 2 years to design this, the good side of having protracted lease negotiations is we got to design this building. And we really, we got into the real specifics of what's going on. So in terms of the trade awards, they're less than $186 million. We have allocated, as much as we can predict, open heart surgery on 50-year-old buildings. We've allotted monies for what we think we will incur, but can't buy right now because we don't know exactly what it's going to be. So, we have those contingencies. In addition, the UNDC has allocated GMP contingencies as well, should things go awry. But as we said, we think we've got these buildings pretty well understood. Unforeseen conditions, they're gonna happen. As we were going through the design process, as I described, initially, we thought we were gonna reuse the chillers in 2UN. As we got into it with the operating engineers and how those things were working, we just, we concluded, and after Carrier came out and said, we're never touching these things ever again, we were able to add the 2 new chillers into the 2UN project without hiccup. So it's included within Turner's GMP. But those types of things may occur. We find things in these buildings, there's the gift that keeps on giving, but we think we have those covered. So, I'm confident that at this point in time that we're going to hit budget and we're going to hit schedule. And as I said, if the UN, gets into their spaces earlier, we'll be better off. And just in terms of on the back end of having to keep staff and contractors on board.
We keep pushing at the meetings, Bob and I go with the Secretary at the UN is to push, make decisions, get answers. I personally believe, now a public record, I think they made a mistake by not approving the building on the park. They would have avoided all of it, but this bill, I think we'll be on budget, but some of us are in construction. We never know what happens.
Right.
Often if the crane collapses and something happens, you don't know. And so it's a very risky business, construction. But from what I see and what I hear from Turner, from you, from Cushman, and other people that looked at it, our advisors, we're okay. We have good cushions, serious cushions.
Yes.
Built into the system. So if there are swings, even at $51 rent, that's the rent that the UN is paying, right? $51 rent, which in the marketplace today is
It looks cheap.
average market, even the old buildings today pushed up 70 and 80 plus $200 worth that you have to give to tenants, which we gave here. But thank God, no tenant work. And so we should be all right, hopefully. So I think we really got a thrust of it.
Yeah, I think the only other thing, just in terms of how we bought the project, there are 9 discrete components of work. We have bought most of them. We are still working through the design of the lobbies.
Yes, the lobby.
That's coming down the pike. We've got a schematic design. We're going through value engineering right now. We hope to meet next week. We're going to meet shortly with the Turner team to see where economies of scale could go through. And then after discussions with George and other board members, we will then approach the UN. There's a very specific lobby design component because where the Chase Bank was on the corner of 44th and 1st, they're going to take that over for what they call their signature lobby.
UNDP.
UNDP. It's their branding issue. So there's a yin and yang in terms of how we're going to work through that. But I think that in our monetary contribution is capped for what we have to do. So if they're going to spend more than that cap, it's their problem.
So we'll come back to the board.
Yeah.
One of the concepts we discussed, the hotel is landmarked, the lobby. The restaurant is landmarked. When you go in the lobby downstairs here, it looks like it's 50 years old. And when you go into UN on First Avenue, even Chase Space, it also looks like it's 50 years old. It is. We brought in some excellent designers to take a look at this. Even the son of Kevin Roche, the firm is still in existence. Kevin designed these buildings, UNICEF and these buildings. He did the Ford Foundation also. To look at it, how would Kevin Roche do this today? If he redid those lobbies, I believe they will not pay for it, even though it's going to be beautiful. We may have some extra money that we have to put in. We'll come back to the board. And we have in the budget, the preliminaries that we have the money. Make a decision. We'll see what we do with it. But if we're going to leave it, let's leave it, I believe. Kevin Roche, high class, landmark buildings. It will enhance the buildings. The lobbies are old. And we have an opportunity now to bring them up to date. It enhances us because if we ever get the buildings back,
Right, you have empty space, you wanna.
we have Kevin Roach lobbies, okay?
It's an investment.
It's a good investment.
George, or maybe it's for Bob, at what point in the phasing, the construction phasing plan, does the lobby piece need to be decided on in the next?
Well, we're gonna try to move through, start that in October, we're,
At the end of the year.
And by the end of the year, we'll have, we'll start to have the dialogue in the last quarter of this year with the tenants. UN's not gonna be an issue. They care less, do whatever you want. The UNDP will have a little bit more volume. We've made it very clear. It is only our lobbies and you can come along on the other side. But again, they have some very specific branding ideas. It's literally one piece of paper. So there's a lot of detail that we'll have to work through with that. But by the end of the year, we hope to have some sort of just a general approval of the schematic design, so then we can go into design construction, build it out in 27.
See, you're hearing the problems of two buildings. I was up, Larry Silverstein's office a few weeks ago. Sitting up, I think he's on the 35th floor. To look down, all that he built there. And all those buildings. Of course, what happened on the west side, other areas, it's enormous, the construction that goes on, and what goes on. And it's the heartbeat. Somebody said it to me very well. You measure the building, Ed Koch, you measure the strength of a city by the number of cranes in the air. So high-rise are cranes. They represent the lifeblood, the sense of optimism and what you believe in. So these are 3 buildings we have here. You hear the difficulties. I don't understand the UN, but our role is to help the United Nations and as best as we can. We extended the park. It expires, the alienation of the park expired at the end of December. I think that's who we were. We renegotiated it because it expired 5 years before. We had to go to the Speaker of the House, we had to go to Assembly, the Senate, the mayor, the borough president. All this had to go through it's the only park ever alienated in the city of New York. This year, so it's now a hockey something. We have rights there, so we can always, if something comes along, we'd be very glad to work on it again. So thank you very much, Bob. Let's have anything specific, Cushman and Turner and everybody else that's involved. Thank all the board members. We'll close this. We get 2 minutes for an executive session next. So can we?
We're adjourned.
Yeah, but close.